Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It's Crystal here, and I wanted to make another video for you. And basically, I'm making a video on Kaggle's Playground Competition, Series 5, Episode 5. And what you have to do is you have to predict on the expenditure of calories. And so that's the competition question. And so I did the competition, and I got RMSLE 0.258. And basically, I tried another model, which was a gamma model, and I had a higher RMSLE. And I also tried a neural network with Keras, and the computer crashed on me. So I couldn't do it with Keras because my computer is not powerful enough. So we're just going to stick with the Poisson Regressor. So we've talked about the problem statement. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the libraries, because you're supposed to import the libraries at the very beginning. So we're going to import NumPy as NP, which is your numerical library. It performs numerical computations. We're going to import Pandas as PD, which performs data processing functions. We're going to import OS, which goes into the operating system. We're going to import sklearn, which provides machine learning functionality. We're going to import PyLab and SciPy, which is going to be used to make the QQ plot. We're going to import Matplotlib and Seaborn, which are our graphics libraries. So after we imported our libraries, what we want to do is we want to retrieve the files that we're going to be using as input to the program. And the three files, they're CSV files, and they're train, test, and sample submission. So we've retrieved those files. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use Pandas to read the CSV files. So we're going to use, and then we're going to read the train, test, and sample submission, and we're going to convert them to train, test, and submission. So you can see the train data frame is 750,000 rows of data by 9 columns. So it doesn't have a lot of columns, but it's got a lot of rows. And that was most probably why the neural network crashed on me, because the size of the data frames. The size of the data frame, that's why my neural network crashed on me. So we check for null values. You don't have any null values. We check for the test set. The test set has 250,000 rows of data. So between the train set and the test set, you've got 1 million rows of data. We check for null values in the test set, and there's not any null values in the test set. And we check for the submission. And so this is what Kaggle wants to see when we submit our work to Kaggle for scoring. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drop the ID. And the reason why we're going to drop the ID is because Pandas automatically indexes all of the rows, so you don't need it. So it's just redundant. So we drop the ID. We're going to encode the sex. And then before we encode the sex, we're going to print the unique values of the sex column. And so the unique values of the sex column in the train and the test file are male and female. And I made sure that I checked the unique values just to make sure that there wasn't anything extra in there that I didn't know about. So we're going to create a dictionary for male and female. So female is 0 and male is 1. And so what we're going to do is we're going to map the dictionary into the train and the test sex column, and then we're going to print the value counts. So you can see that you've got, well, pretty much in the train column, you've got pretty much, it's almost even male and females. And in the test column, it's almost even male and females as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use Matplotlib to create a histogram of the calories. So this is a histogram of the calories, and so it looks almost exponential. I know it's not exponential, but it looks almost exponential, and that's why I decided to try the Poisson and the gamma regressors, since it looked almost exponential, even though it's not exponential. Created a heat map of the train data frame, and you can see some of the features weren't highly correlated at all, so you can see because of the black markings, but some of the features were highly correlated. But since there were not a lot of features anyway, I decided not to drop any of the features. But you can see some of the features were highly correlated, like the duration and the heart rate was highly correlated. The duration and the body temperature was highly correlated, and the duration and the calories was highly correlated. So, but because there weren't that many features anyway, I decided to just leave it as it was. So now we're going to define our dependent and independent variables. Y is a dependent variable, and you're going to use the calories feature. You're going to pop the calories feature out of the train data frame. And then X is the remainder of the train data frame, and that's your independent variable, and X test is your test data frame. Then we're going to use sklearn's train test split function to split the X and Y variables into training and validation sets. So you can see your training and your validation set. And now what we do is we define our model. So we're using the Poisson Regressor, and we use a max iter of 5,000, because if you don't use a high max iter, then what will happen is the data will not converge. And then we fit the data into the model, and you got a score of 96.47%, which is good. And now we predict on the validation set, so you can see the predictions on the validation set. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find the RMSE. So the MSE, that's your mean squared error, is there's a function in sklearn called mean squared error, and you can use that. And then the RMSE is the square root of the MSE. So the RMSE is 11.75, but Kaggle is using RMSLE, so that's root mean squared logistic error. So I got the code for to create an RMSLE function. So we created our own function, and then when we created our own function from RMSLE, we've got an error of 0.2606, which is pretty good. And then what I did was I created a data frame to compare the validation values to the predicted values. And so you can see how the validation values compare to the predicted values. And then what I do again is I use Matplotlib to create a histogram of YPRED. And you can see the histogram of YPRED looks similar to the histogram of calories. So that's pretty good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the stats, ProbPlot, and PyLab So we're going to create a QQ plot, and that QQ plot is going to tell you about the goodness of fit. And so the QQ plot doesn't look too bad. And then now what we do is we use Matplotlib to actually plot the predicted values against the actual values. And it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad to me because last month or the month before I did the competition question, and it didn't turn out very well at all. So I think that it looked okay, in my opinion, my humble opinion. So now we're going to predict on the test set, and then after we predict on the test set, we're going to take the predictions and we're going to put the predictions into the submission file. And then after we've done that, then what we do is we submit our work to Kaggle for predictions. And then so and Kaggle wants to see, Kaggle scores it on an RMSLE, which is why I put RMSLE in the program so you can see what kind of score you're going to get. And so, yeah, I thought it turned out okay. I think whenever I checked what I was on the leaderboard, it was about 180 or 190 on the leaderboard. So I think it wasn't that bad. And I sat there in the afternoon and I did the competition in the afternoon. And then basically I tried to use the gamma regressor, but I didn't score as well on the gamma regressor as I did on the Poisson regressor. And then I tried to use a neural network because I thought, well, you haven't used a neural network in a while. Why don't you go ahead and try to do it with a neural network, see if you can improve your score. But the file was just too big for a neural network because my computer crashed. I don't have a powerful computer, and so my computer crashed. So that's it for this video. I've covered the code review for Kaggle's Season 5, Episode 5, where you're supposed to predict on the expenditure of calories. And then what I will do is I will leave a link to the Jupyter Notebook in the video for you. So if you want to look at my code, you can see my code. So if you like my video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will be making another video for you in the very near future.